Hi. How are you?
Would you like to introduce yourself? What would you like to be?
My name's Ben Hrycak. I'm a degenerate romanticist, and I like to paint.
Nice. So
And among other things, yeah.
No, keep going. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. How could anybody tell them about yourselves? If you tell someone about yourself, you're lying to yourself. Because I don't know myself. But I do know, I like to paint. And,
It's a solid job.
yeah. It's hard to tell people about myself, Like, what my interests,
Yeah.
what I like.
It's kind of hard. I feel like people are always constantly evolving. You feel me? So,
Yeah.
So for someone
It just
to
feels
say,
like, I don't know. Whenever someone says, tell me about who you are, it's like, oh, I'm Ben, I like to paint, my hair color is blonde, blue eyes, like, skateboard here and there.
Yeah.
I don't think it encapsulates the full picture, but yeah, I'm Ben, I paint, I like to skate, I like music.
What are some
I'm a
things
regular
you've been
guy.
into recently?
Some things I've been into.
Yeah, like maybe colors or songs. Or
I've been real into history lately.
Really?
World War II history, because of everything that's going on, like Soviet Union and shit like that. Because it's all just kind of like affecting what's happening right now. And that's what, like, when I go to work, I kind of just listen to those podcasts and stuff like that.
That's not a bad drawing. So
No.
that's actually pretty good because the shirt that you're wearing is for reishi and it's the piece Gyarut. So my question for you is actually it's even better. Back then different people were fighting for different kinds of peace. So
Yeah.
So do you explain what peace is to you?
Pieces to me is honestly like a simple life. Would just be waking up, painting, not having to worry about money coming in.
Yeah.
But it's true what you say, like, if peace is different for everybody. And then back then it was like ideals.
Right.
And, what can you really say about ideas? Like, it's all up in the air.
That's true.
Nothing
What are some things that bring you peace, that you feel like in life?
I'd say painting probably brings me the most peace. And it's like the repetition or like the actual action of it that you kind of just get lost in and you kind of just lose your thoughts.
Right. So
Peace of mind. having some peace of mind in life. No one hounded me.
Yeah. Very true. You could just be yourself in the moment. Don't worry about caring the world.
Yeah.
So, with the thing about peace, there are a lot of ideals that clash with each other. Some are larger than others, and some get swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially in the current state of the world, do you think it's possible for peace? I know people talk about things like utopia, or is there a level of balance that would bring?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think there can ever really peace on earth. I mean, maybe it can lean in the direction of peaceful times, but there's never gonna be just peace.
Right.
There has to be, I don't know, chaos. There has to be, for as much as there is peace, there has to be this chaos, this static, this constant moving,
Right.
And it's just, I don't know. There's no getting rid of that, but hopefully we can. Hopefully we can get it at least leaning in another direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And instead of 50 chaos, 40 peace, or my math was way off. That only went up to 90%. But 60-40 is what I meant to say.
Right.
Maybe we can get to 60% peace, 40% chaos. Because it's not, you can't. I feel like as we get put into this earth, there are people who are agents of chaos.
Yeah.
And shit, that's just how it is. That's how it's been. Animal kingdom shit.
What are some things you do then when those quote-unquote agents of chaos disturb your peace? How do you go about that to keep peace? Would you consider yourself a peacemaker? No, it's a lot.
Yeah, I would consider myself a peacemaker, actually. There's some guy who came into my work, and we got into this conversation about, well, I do custom framing, surround myself with art. That's true romanticism right there, baby. But, yeah, he eventually started talking about how he was a custom framer at one point. And then he was talking about how he did Uber drive. He was an Uber driver, and he did it only because he liked having conversations with people.
Right.
Which, I mean, I'm having a conversation with the guy in the middle of the store, so
Right.
it makes sense. But some guy who he drove was like, yeah, why are you doing this? Like, they need jobs, like, and you're taking people's job by driving for Uber.
Mm-hmm.
And so he stopped Uber driving because of that.
Really?
And yeah, I was like, that's kind of dumb. Like, if they need to Uber for a living and they have like their car to do it, then they can then they should just do it. Like, there's, it's like a double negative. Like, you working for them is not taking away anybody's jobs.
Right,
Especially
right.
like nowadays, you hear how much places need people to work.
Right.
And I eventually like brought that up with him, and he's like, yeah, like, honestly, like, I wish we could just take all of the lazy people and just shoot them.
Oh my goodness.
Just shoot them.
Yeah.
And he's like, he was very serious, because I laughed it off at first, and then he's like, I'm serious, man. And then I eventually broke it down to him. It was like, there's reasons why people aren't working.
Yeah.
Like, I think it goes to show, these companies have shown that they treat people as expendable.
Right.
But that's like a whole nother story. But eventually I kind of just switched around his way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And he even said to me, he's like, like, after this conversation, like, you made me realize, like, I've become a lot more radical in my old age.
Right.
And, he's like, I see it too, like, I've been jaded before, like, and, just that small conversation, like, I don't think he, as a person, would actually go out and, like, shoot people.
Yeah, to that extent.
But if a charismatic enough guy got him and a bunch of other people in the same room and was like, yeah, get rid of lazy people, like, I've had it.
Those ideals.
Yeah, those ideals, exactly. Like, if someone had some aligning ideals and the guy seemed like he could actually get the job done, then he would probably be someone to go into that position and do something extreme within that group or whatever. So until I had that conversation, I feel like it made him think about it a little bit different, but you never know.
So the thing about it, it seems as if those conversations could help lead to points of peace. Like, do you think there are periods in time, have you ever, since you've been in the history, even leading up to World War II and possibly afterwards, like, was there ever any time periods that you know of that was like, okay, this seems like close to peace as we can get, or this is peace in this area?
No. I mean, nah. It's hard to say. I mean, things feel a little weirder now, but like, I mean, shit, I haven't lived back then or anything like that, so. But it's always like, no matter what they tell you in school or anything, there's some shady shit going on in these times. There's always like another side you can look at, to a degree. Like, when people think of the 70s and the 60s and shit, like peace and love and all that, like Vietnam War, Charles Manson, like, and even the peace and love shit, like, they were all just doing drugs. Yeah. And they didn't know what they were taking and stuff like that. Like, it's a double. This ball has no sides. This earth. There's a way to look at everything, I think.
Right. So, you brought up love too, and I feel like that's a very big ideal in the sense of like compassion and what you were saying, romanticizing and things like that. Mm-hmm. Before we, I guess, go any deeper, if we just go with the basic surface, what are some things that you love right now, or that you have like a passion towards?
Painting. I mean, when I walk in my room and I smell oil paint, it's just like, it's invigorating. It feels good.
I definitely understand. No, I definitely understand.
And it's funny because we talk about this kind of stuff, and I love these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
They're the best. Getting down to like the root of everything. And it's, I don't know necessarily how much that gets conveyed in my paintings. Mm-hmm. But I love painting people, and I feel like those conversations stem from human nature.
Right.
And cubism too. I love cubism, which is like multiple perspectives kind of thing
What
that I add into it, and I think that's kind of the message, you know.
What is it
across.
about the cubism? Because I've definitely seen a lot of your paintings, even the one behind you right now. There's a lot of different shapes. You have like ovals, square. You use a lot of ovals and spheres
Yeah.
recently.
I do like, kind of inspired by like the old way of texting back in the day when we didn't have emojis.
Right.
No, middle school texting, texting some emo shoddy, a little XD. Like
Right.
I like putting that on. It's kind of like a callback to those times, and also it just adds on top of the portrait. So it kind of conveys multiple like emotional states, and there's also in some of them just like different ways of looking at something.
Right.
Multiple perspectives, and we're multifaceted people.
So actually, that's crazy that you say that with emotions because there's a painter. His name isn't coming to me right now, but basically at Synthesia. I just want to make sure I say that right. And
It's
basically,
a tough word to say.
yeah, and when he paints, he'll do shapes in certain colors. He'll hear sound. So if he sees like a yellow rectangle, he'll hear a trumpet. Sometimes it would be like blacks and grays or like drums and things like that. What kind of emotions do you feel or get, or do you hear sounds, or is there anything specific when you see certain shapes? Or right now I see a lot of your paintings, they have this kind of like yellow, the background. What is invoked in you?
Well, we talked about it earlier with the yellow. I feel like it's like it's a perfect background color.
Mm-hmm.
It's like very flat, and I like the contrast between the flatness of the background and the shapes. As far as like the emotions I get when I paint, it's kind of tough to say. I wouldn't say I like get like the same evocation he does from like hearing like a trumpet or anything like that, but that resonates with me like a lot to a degree. And I mean, I like, I always have music going on in my head and stuff like that, just from the constant static of day-to-day life, as anybody does.
Yeah.
But that makes sense, like, because I feel that to a degree, like, as like the browns and like the blacks and stuff and the grays, like the beating of a drum is very primal, and those are very like primal colors. Like those like establish the depth. Yeah. They're the depth establishers when it comes to like doing like an underpainting or something like that.
Right. So
yeah, I don't know.
No, it definitely is. And like seeing some of your paintings, it's very. Some of them are more like blacks and grays, but then you have other paintings where like even this one, it's not on camera, but you have some where the blues and the pinks and things pop out. But
yeah,
like you said, with the flat background, it like allows those colors to come through. Like
yeah, I also think that the yellow background, for being such kind of like an interesting yellow,
right,
it's able to work with a lot of colors pretty well for the most part. Whereas like that one there, it's got like the pinks in there, and I think the pinks work well with the yellow ochre, just as much as like some of the greens and the blues.
Right. So if it was,
I haven't tried too much red or orange. It's like too good. Even one of them back here, but yeah.
Do you think those colors, the reds and oranges, are like a little too strong? They like pop out the contrast of it.
I think they almost blend in a little bit too much, where they don't pop out.
With the yellow, okay.
Because like I was saying, with how the figures pop out from the flat background,
right.
The colors also kind of work in that way,
right.
Where they don't really clash too much, but it it like pops out. Also like the way that they all feel like they kind of exist in the same space.
So one of your favorite artists that I know of, people will know after you say this, is Rocky. Yeah. And he is definitely a king of colors. What type of inspiration do you get from that, and a love for his art?
Honestly, I think one of the stands are probably the biggest inspiration I have from him, because they're just like these abstract figures.
Right.
And I almost feel like they're like double head portraits. Like they're like a abstract representation of whatever the stand user is.
Okay.
And like from their powers to like how they actually look is like a representation of them.
Almost like a soul or something.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a double head portrait, and part of his reasoning for making them was like, I just want to draw more in like interesting ways. And he loves doing figure drawings and stuff like that.
So
yeah, I'd say that's one of the biggest inspirations.
So when it comes to yours, because like you said, you do a lot of portraits, but people could like argue that it's like abstract. How much do you distort, like the different photos and the headshots and things that you do? Because some of them are.
I try not to distort any of the
facial features.
Yeah, I try not to until it's finished, and then I'll put stuff over top.
Okay.
And like I try and get it to be one of one. Like I take one day at a time. I'm just trying to practice and.
So is it like the environment? If I was to look at one of your paintings, and it'll be like, okay, it's a person there, and it's not really the person that is abstract, but more so the environment reflecting onto them, and that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more of like the overlayer of it. So it's like, in a sense, it's like the Iraqi double head portraits.
Right.
So like with this one, there's multiple different ways of looking at it.
You wanna maybe show it to them so they can get the reference?
I mean, not too many different ways, but it's like this right here is a face. Right there is its own face, and like even there, you can it just blends in different ways of kind of looking at it.
Right.
There's some better examples of it too, but I feel like this is a good representation of kind of like the inspiration from Iraqi, kind of just like that figure layered over top.
Right. So when people see artwork and stuff, even for the first time, it evokes like different things. How do you feel about art bringing people together? Do you think that art can evoke senses of peace? And do you think the love for art, or even just the romanticism, as you said earlier, bring people together?
No, I for sure think that. Thinking about it on the surface, I feel like the first instinct could kind of be like, and that's kind of just like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. It's just a negative way of looking at it.
Really?
I feel like the first thought, I don't know, you just don't think it could really bring people together like that. But the thing is it has. I mean, especially people from other countries. Like, it definitely instills a sense of unity around the world. Like, people love artists from China, Japan, from all over the place. Europe, like, Brazil. It's just like, it's a very worldly thing, and I feel like that brings people together. It instills, like unity among nations and stuff like that. Like, that's the avenue to bringing people together.
Right.
But it's not going to work for everybody, It's just one step.
What do you think that next step would be, though? If you could think about it. I know that's a pretty tough question.
If we all linked up minds and consciousness and started moving around like ants.
Like ants?
But I don't know.
The diversity of people, though, like, the world would be very bland if we didn't have, like, we wouldn't have stuff like this if we were all on a hive mentality. I do believe, though, oddly enough, a lot of people go towards that, though. Like, the average Joe or citizen, you would say that they move towards a hive mentality, and the idea of, the thing with ideal is like, okay, like, how you're saying the guy who came into your job, right?
Yeah.
And if he was in the right room with the right type of charismatic person, he could be swayed, and that happens a lot. So it's like, do you feel as if though that freedom or that diversity would bring people closer to peace rather than the high mentality? Because depending upon any idea, you could take a good idea, right?
Yeah.
And then twist it.
I do agree. No, I feel
Like, but I do understand, like, that communication of people like coming together and working together regardless of anything, that aspect of ants like or a hive, that brings a sense of unity and everyone knows their place and has a certain order.
In like the most extreme way.
Right.
Because we are kind of in hive mentality anyways.
Right.
And that's like causing the problems.
Right. It's very diverse. It's like.
But it's like if you were to go more extreme, then the problems would stop.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it seriously.
Yeah.
But,
no, just ideas, just talking, you know.
Yeah, but it's true.
It's very, very like.
But if we could get to a place where we all just respect each other as individuals, then there's not even a need for that.
Right. Do you think that? How would you explain like hope, like compared to those two? Like, would you say hope is an ideal, or is hope greater than that? Because I feel as if
it's a necessity.
Yeah. Explain if you wanna.
I mean, I don't know.
Like, what are some things that, even small things like, I hope like later if you're talking you're hungry or like the food that you eat later.
Yeah, I think hope is shit. It's life without hope. Like, I think especially when you think of the opposite of hope, which is hopeless.
Yeah.
It sounds terrible. I'm not saying you should have like expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit, you should have expectations. But, I feel like you gotta have hope. You gotta have something you look forward to, or at least like a flicker, like a flame. Yeah, something that drives you.
Right.
And I feel like that's what hope is in a sense.
A lot of people without like hope, they get like lost. Yeah. You get it can lead to, like you said, hopelessness can lead to like a very dark place for people.
Yeah, hopelessness is not the way. And also you can't just hope, you gotta get to it.
Yeah.
And also hope.
yeah, definitely. It's like kind of like walking it out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But I definitely think it's integral. And I think to not have hope, even if it is like what you said with small things, it's very sad. It seems like a very sad life to live.
yeah. It is sad that a lot of people nowadays, like, they do walk around like that.
They do.
Hope,
Yeah.
What are some things that you do to keep hope in your own endeavors and your things in life? Like, it doesn't even have to be like grander, larger scale things. Like people are like, oh, I hope that we get like this law changes, or I hope that like these people get this, but like just in your own personal life, like things that you hope for. Like you're talking about an art show that earlier, like maybe you're hoping for certain expectations with that. What do you do to keep yourself like on track with that and in focus on that vision?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously I always hope for success in art and stuff like that, and I try and back it up with the actual work too.
Right.
I usually try and wake up. I don't really set an alarm. I'll set an alarm like before work just in case I oversleep. But I try and wake up like around 7 each morning, a little bit earlier. If I do, like if I wake up around 6:30, then I'll just like get up and I immediately just grab coffee and just start painting.
That's a good thing to do.
And I just keep it going until I break. Like a day when I'm not working, and even on days when I am working, it's just like I paint before work, I go to work, and I come home and I pick up where I left off.
Right. So, do you feel as if though, even hope compared to your day-to-day life, and even how you're seeing in your art, that sense of repetition?
I feel like if I didn't have any hope, I wouldn't even do that. I feel like to a degree. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If I was hopeless, then it's like, why even try?
Right.
Or like, each painting, each blank canvas, like I'm hoping that, I make something good, or at least like learn something from the painting, even if it's like doesn't end up being a finished painting and I have to go over it. Like, I just hope I come out with something.
Yeah.
I hope that it comes out good too. I hope I like what I made. I hope I learn each day. Like, it's very integral. Like, it goes into it's like it almost goes into everything that you do.
Right. So, say for example, you do a painting and maybe like say you finish it. Like it's not like it's unfinished. Like you finish it and maybe it's like a dud. Like I know you said earlier, there's some paintings like in the stack that you're like, I'm not really worried about those ones. Like, where do you go from there in keeping the hope? Do you feel like that affects your vision? Do you ever have moments where you're like hard on yourself, you know?
Yeah, nah, it definitely can get discouraging. Shit, life can get discouraging. But you just gotta be like Luffy, dude. You just can't care. You just, to a degree, like, you gotta pick and choose what you care about, in a sense, or what you let affect you. Like, when something doesn't end up going the way that you want it, you know, beating yourself up is one of the worst things you can do.
Right.
It's different to look at it critically and understand what it is, where you went wrong, and how you can go better. But, like, if you're just beating yourself up, like, that's a pointless thought process to have.
Right.
Almost any kind of victimization thought process is like it's overall just like not gonna help you.
Where do you think that stems from? I mean, I guess you could say the hopelessness, but do you think there's any other like root things that causes those?
I don't really know.
It might be like
I feel like as playing the victim, you want to be told that you're right. But I'm just looking at that from a relationship standpoint, so I don't even know.
Right. But I feel as if though the thing that people are searching for in that, like like playing the victim, like I want that sort of attention, or like you said, someone to just pat me on the head and say it's okay, you're right. But it sounds crazy, but in the sense of like if you did the opposite and went up, and I guess the opposite of victim would be like almost like a conqueror, or like winning, or like just in not saying you're like, I'm conquering the country, but just you conquered what you wanted to do. I got better.
You go and get it instead of
and you still get
dwelling on it.
Right. You would get that from people, like you know, that same thing, but people would tell you, would give you the pat on the back or you're right, but it would be for a good cause because you actually have something to like show for it.
Exactly. It's like when I mess up a painting or anything like that, and I'm just like, alright, there's nothing I can really do about it.
Right.
One of the first things to do is to wipe the slate clean and just start over. Because, I mean, shit, like I was saying, you know, you hope to get something. You do get something even if it's like a messed up painting.
Right.
And, like, just do it again. It's that simple.
So what are some things that, like, get you ready to go into that workspace of just, like, going... you know, when you start painting or just anything you do, you literally go into like a trance almost. Not like but you know, you're just like so focused. Like, what do you do to get into that space?
I like doing it when I wake up. So, I wake up, get some coffee, a little smoke, and then I just put on a podcast and I just paint.
Really, it's a good way.
I just go through it and just try and figure it out. Yeah.
Do you think that affects?
And then sometimes it doesn't work, and does it affect the rest of my day?
Like they say, if
it's like pretty much is the rest of my day.
Okay.
And there's just breaks that I'll take in between. Like sometimes I'll go and skate for like an hour or two, which is just like some good exercise.
Right.
And you know, have some lunch. But yeah, mostly I just go back and just do it.
Right. You gotta like put your all into it. You know, your life into it.
It takes a long time too. It's a long process, and I get caught up in like trying to see it all in front of me at once, which is also kind of a problem I have. But yeah.
You can probably find them online, eBay, Grill, Depop.
Yeah.
You know, anything like that.
But like these Vivian Westwoods, like those.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I feel like I could run like a 5K and I'm in the woods,
bro. And it's
in the pouring rain. Like they're like built for that.
Yeah.
They're completely waterproof. Like
they look like, you can tell by like the texture and stuff. Like this one is crazy. Dude. Like literally, I swear, like I was literally just looking on. It's like the fact that they work with like, it's crazy. It's like Vivian Westwood, then they work with Asics. Like, you feel me?
Yeah.
Like,
shout out to Clayton for putting me onto that.
Facts. Clayton definitely put me onto those Johns, like the net John. But even those, like they don't have shoelaces. It's just like
you gotta get rid of them.
Exactly, bro. I don't know. It's like I feel like it's so many different reasons. I mean, like, cool, like, you know, you teach a kid how to tie their shoes and stuff like that. But it's like they get dirty, they rip, they get in the way and stuff. You always gotta worry, do they look good or whatever? Like,
I mean, I'm not walking around in the future in jeans and some shoelaces, bro.
I'm saying, and like,
But
don't
with
get me
some
wrong.
slacks and some of these, like,
You'll be good, bro.
you know.
Like, I like slacks and like cargo pants. Like, I love, like, literally grew up just like wearing this. Cause I feel like it's like you said, it's comfortability. Any situation you get into, you can wear them, and then also too, they look nice. If you have like a pair of slacks on, it's like
Exactly.
I can go to a gas station and I could go out to dinner. Like,
go to a fucking job interview.
I'm
like
saying,
anything you need to do.
Yes, bro.
No matter what.
Literally, yes. I'm not gonna lie. Like, even like I've been planning it for a while, and sometimes I just do it in the house. Like, I'm a real like he could tell you like. I'll just be in the house and quote unquote like put a fit on, like whatever I feel comfortable with. I literally like been like wearing like ties. But that show's hard though.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah, bro. Like I feel like
you never know when a good-looking girl's gonna step in, anyways.
I'm saying though.
Knock on your door.
I'm saying, bro. Like, and like
you
literally
gotta be prepared for these things.
I get it. Reminds me of like Kill la Kill. I don't know if you've seen it, but I always like, bro, that joint impacted
That's
me
all
a lot,
about,
bro. Like clothes and like everything.
It's all about clothes, modesty,
yeah,
like
bro.
being comfortable in your own skin.
Exactly,
good
bro.
show.
And like how do you think about this? Because like we definitely live in. Even I feel like myself have fallen into it where it's like people say like drip, right? So it's like clothes, and like we just spend money on like clothes, and I'm not against it, especially if it's something that's high quality. You feel me? Like
me neither.
These actually the price for these aren't that bad.
No, they're pretty good. These were expensive.
I'm saying, right?
But it's worth it sometimes. You know, you can't. It's not sustainable to just buy designer like 24/7. But some pieces are worth it.
Exactly.
It's an art form in itself a lot of the time too.
Yeah, literally yes. And like, but how do you feel about also too? So like people buy stuff and it may not be like comfortable, but it's like just buying it because it's like, okay, this is what it is. Like, you know how they say like beauty is pain. And it's a longer like what that stems from.
Is
I think
it
in
though?
Italian. Nah, it's real. Like I get it. It's like the meaning like behind is like, oh, women have suffered or have to suffer, or even men too suffer to get to a perfect what their beauty standard is. You feel me? Like even back when people used to wear corsets and stuff like that, and it's like squeezing your organs, at least the original ones, and like
that back then is like dehumanizing now.
Yeah, I
like,
definitely agree.
I could agree with like getting in shape and stuff like that. Like
it's
that's
like that now though. Like people wear waist trainers and stuff. I mean, it might be healthier, but it's in the same like realm. If you think about it, history repeating itself.
I mean, yeah, it's tough to say honestly, because there's a lot of dehumanization that stems from that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like we should strive, at least like, you know.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like we should strive to look good in some way.
Definitely. I
Be
agree.
in shape or like.
You like it. Humans have always adorned themselves, even in like tribes and stuff like that. You find like random pieces of jewelry or like very extravagant designs on like cloth and stuff like it. We've always done it.
But it's not everything.
Yeah.
And like you could go to a thrift store and just get like a bunch of slacks that look real nice for real cheap.
Yes.
And then look like, you know, shit.
Yes.
Do that with everything, pretty
Yes.
much.
I agree. And when we went to the recently we went to the Met when we went up to New York, and they had, remember that picture of Rocky? He was on like I get at the Met Gala. He had like that giant like blanket, John. They had it there, like in the kimono in the exhibit, and like. I remember reading about that online, that actual blanket, like, kimono type. It's more like a robe, but it's made out of, like, a bunch of, like, thrifted, quilted blankets and stuff like that. I feel like everything can be used. Like, everything can always be used. Even in that, like you said, going, like, to a thrift store, you can find so many gems you can create. You probably can
find so many gems.
Exactly, but you
can
like even create new stuff.
Spend some stuff. Yeah, you can create your own stuff as well. If something's not fitting your mold, or if you can't afford your mold,
Yeah.
which you like, if you have like real high quality taste, but you don't have that at your disposal,
Yeah.
but you do have a means to create something yourself or put together something similar. I mean, that's how I started doing art, basically. It's like, shit, I can't fucking, you know how expensive paintings are? Like, I have to create something myself that fits within my, like, aesthetic or what I like.
I agree. I definitely feel like that, like, with music and stuff that I've made in the past, it's kind of like, you do like things, but maybe you're not hearing, like, it's something, like, in you, like, I want to hear this, and that's not being, like, made. So you kind of just, like, fool around. You make little, like, boom clap.
That's how you find your own style to a degree. Like, you know, everybody starts somewhere. And that's what humanity is. We're just building on top of each other. It's like,
bro,
you know what I mean?
Yes, and but like literally,
the blueprints are laid out before us. Like, we've just been passing it along,
bro.
It's fucking Naruto.
No, that bro, it is. But like literally, I was just talking to him and Haku the other day about that, where it's like people always like, I'm the first to do this, I'm the first to do that, but then also like learning like. I'm like, I have like a art history class right now learning about postmodernism and stuff, and how like a lot of new artists, like, and just across the board, not just one medium, but like they don't really like look at the past. They just like are trying to break rules and like make new stuff. But I feel like for us to make new stuff, it's like we gotta learn also the foundations, because it's like you might see this
what
and
rules
be like,
do you know to break? Like, how do you know you're breaking the rules? You're still building. You're bouncing off of something. Almost. In that regard, at least, but
no, facts. How do you feel about like there was an era where like tailoring to a certain extent was like normal in households. Like I know when I was growing up, like my grandparents raised me, so if I ripped my pants or did something, like my grandmother was just sew it back. All right, you're good. Go back out. Like, do you feel like that's a trait or something that like we need to bring back in, like even if it's in school, like what's the class for, like
we had it at our high school.
We did, didn't we?
We did. We had a sewing class where they worked with sewing machines and stuff like that, like a tailoring class.
Bro, I don't know if they I can't say they do it though. Nah, facts.
That's having a good art department and some good money coming into the art department, which I think is important.
Cause I was thinking of our wood department too. That's what I was thinking of. But I was trying to remember if they were in the same class. What's the name of that though?
Textiles. I'm pretty sure. Okay,
so that's perfect. Cause like, even like I was saying with like reusing stuff, like we wouldn't even if people knew like just basic sewing skills. It's a lot of clothes that wouldn't even be wasted. Like you damage your shirt or you damage your pants or shorts, whatever, and then it's just like, nah, let me just real quick get the threaded needle, and that stuff you go to the dollar store and get that like so cheap. Like it's literally like not that expensive to get.
I mean, that is kind of a forgotten art form in like a practical sense.
Yeah, on a day to day.
Yeah, it's tough to say. Honestly, it was probably more common back in the day and stuff like that, and now everything's so fast. And I almost wanted to say like the art form of clothes has been like pushed more now, but I don't even know if that's the case, because you got to think back then, you know, tailors were very practical, and it was like a base by base situation too, where they would make this stuff.
Suits, everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like that isn't really like, even with like quote unquote fashion, like maybe the imagery of it, but the quality to a certain extent is like forgotten. Like what they call fast fashion, the materials and stuff, and how it's put together.
Everything's kind of fast now.
A couple washes and whatever you're wearing is like done. You get what I'm saying? Rather, I know when I was with Clayton, he has like a lot of like old Levi pants that he's thrifted, and like you can date them by the certain kind of tags. Like I've seen like black Levi tags and stuff like that. Actually, you know, like the big like rectangle one that's on the back, the upper back. Yeah, like different ones like that and stuff, and they still are lasting now. Like, it's crazy.
I had a conversation with Clayton about this like the last time I saw him. And I was telling him how I don't like how t-shirts, when I wash them, they lose their sizing. That's like my pet peeve, because I kind of like a little bit of a baggier fit. Yeah. And he had some shit from, the 90s that's still like maintained. It's like true to size fit or large or whatever, you know. And it's one of my biggest pet peeves.
No, I 100% agree. I feel like
some shirts don't have that though. Like there's some
Yeah.
shirts that will shrink, and there's other ones that don't.
I hate the shrink.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know, honestly. I don't know how to maintain clothes.
No, I feel you though, cause it's like a lot of shirts recently I have, and they literally shrunk in the wash, and like
It
I'll get
sucks,
it back,
dude.
I'll be angry, like I love this shirt, and now I can't even really wear it. It's like
Yeah, it just fits weird.
Yeah, it's like weird looking. I'm like, bro, this is like not okay. Like people should just be
I'd almost rather
comfortable.
that happen than, or no, I'd rather it lose its like softness or something than it
Yeah.
lose its sizing. Like losing its sizing is the worst.
Yeah, bro. Cause it's like how, but even though you could argue that softness is how it fits on your, I mean, like touches your skin, the sizing is also that too.
Oh,
I feel like.
sizing is like, it could be even more so. Cause fuck, you don't want a shirt choking up on you. Like you ever wear a small, like you get a small shirt on, it starts choking up. Like fuck that. That's way worse than it just being a little bit less uncomfortable.
Right.
I mean, one that's fits good and is
Yeah.
soft as shit.
Yeah, bro. You can't
got it
go wrong.
made.
You literally can't go wrong with that, Sean. Like honestly, like fashion is like, it's a very weird. It's very very weird, and it just depends. Like honestly, I can say that. Like I feel like conversations with, like Cody, Clayton, even Blitz, you, even now, like it's like you kind of just like learn from each other, and like you said, it's like
Yeah.
that evolution and stuff like that. Like even with like your paintings and stuff, like how do you feel about your evolution thus far, and like what do you think is next, like evolving? Do you even think about that, like what, like
Oh yeah.
what I want to try to do in the future? Like even this
Honestly,
right here, I don't, like last time we was here, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I made that after.
That's hard.
But
yeah.
this is kind of where I was picturing myself to be from an artistic standpoint at this age of my life, honestly. So it feels like I'm on track for what I want, but yeah, I'm just expecting to get better, and my art just to get,
Is there
just better, and then explore. That's like the main goal, and then explore the other avenues that come off of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Have the fun afterwards.
Right.
You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, build up and then have the fun.
Yeah.
That's kind of been what I've been trying to do this whole time, too.
Is there times where you're like thinking like, I want to, like in the future, I just want to paint with like this shade of green. Like maybe right now that's not what I'm feeling, but like you see in a color, you're like in the future, like yeah, I know, like
yeah, I was listening to a podcast, a history podcast about Theodore Roosevelt, and they were talking about his daughter at the time. And this isn't like I forgot my dates wrong. It's like late 1800s to early, like 19.
Yeah.
I forget the exact dates, but turn of the century type shit. And his daughter was just like a wild child.
Yeah.
She was always just like going out partying, like smoking cigarettes, like saying whatever the fuck she wanted. She would like always have a snake around her.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just like, I want to do a series of portraits on her in the future.
Crazy. What was
She's just an interesting character.
Okay.
Yeah. She's very, for her time, she's just very interesting. Because she was like, had a good way of words. She's very in the press.
Okay.
I don't know, I want to learn more about
Somebody
her.
like Princess Diana. I believe, yeah, in the sense, not to a T, but
I don't know too much about Princess Diana, but like, yeah, she's like the original first daughter.
How did Theodore, like from what you learned, like how was his reaction to, I don't want to call her antics, but just like her everyday living, like.
I think one of the quotes was something along the lines of, I can either be president of the United States or I can deal with Alice's antics. So I'm just gonna let her do what she wants. Basically, like he is a real one, and like I would love to do portraits on him too. I think in the future I would like to kind of revisit some historical figures and do portraits of them. he was a very, very interesting person for the time.
That's literally crazy. To think that even back then there was people like that. I guess it's always been people like that.
Yeah.
Like it's like I'm very, maybe because of the current state that we in, it's like in the sense of like rebellion is like normalized now. You get what I'm saying?
But I'm in like a political sphere, like it's
Maybe
not though.
Nah,
It's shunned. It's like looked down upon. I mean, he was a person who was shunned by the political sphere because he didn't accept. He was like a real person.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't just promote the sides of the right or the left. Like he just kind of had his own ideals and stuck to it. Like he's a very divisive figure, and they didn't want him to be president.
Right.
And they put him in the position of vice president because they thought it was such a useless role that he would just be stuck, and he wouldn't go anywhere else in politics.
Right.
And he hated it. He would write about how the vice president role should be abolished. Like it's pointless. He hated it so much. And then the president died, and he became the president. And it was like their worst fear happened.
It's like destiny. Like you
Destiny,
usually,
dude.
Yeah,
and he fucked shit up a little bit while he was there. You know, everybody has got their problems though.
Was that before or after they decided like on the 4-year terms? Because I know there was a point.
It was before.
Okay.
But he only served for one term, and then both the Democrats and the Republicans were like, "Fuck no, you're not getting back in here." Yeah, he created his own party.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, they shunned him from it, dude. He got shot. Some guy tried to assassinate him right before his speech, and he went and delivered the speech, a 90-minute speech with a bullet hole in him. Like it's literally, he was an insane dude.
That's great.
But his relative FDR, he was president for 13 years.
Wow.
And then after that,
so they're actually related.
Yeah.
Wow.
They were both. I like both of them, honestly.
That's crazy. Shout out to FDR. Literally, one of my favorite childhood parks I grew up in New York. Like it's called FDR.
Yeah.
Like, or I should say Aries, but like, shout out.
Shout out the legacy he brought.
Yeah, facts. How much time we got? Just one? Alright, so we'll wrap this one up. I feel like that was pretty solid. That was a solid drawing. It's always a solid drawing, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Definitely.
You could just keep going, like
yeah, facts. Alright, we stopped that one.